hosted to our website via our YouTube channel. So if you ever need to go back and look at something, or if you ever join late or need to go early, and sorry, my dog just decided to start chugging from his water bowl as soon as this meeting started. So if you hear that, my bad. But yeah, so we always have meeting notes. We always have meeting recordings. If you're ever unable to join or need a refresher, um, you can go watch that. My name is Abby Sherrier. I'm the Senior Director of Youth Programming for the Alphon Youth and Community Center. I oversee the trip and coordinate most of the details with some help from some very special people. Sue Karen helps out a lot. She's here under the alias of Sophie LeBlanc at the moment. I don't know how to help her fix it. Lisa Plord also helps a lot. They've both been on the trip more often than I have. We also have Pat Kearns, who is our camp director and trips director. So he attends the trips and helps coordinate on the back end at the AYCC and kind of help me keep my sanity as I remember to check all the boxes every year for you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get into the slideshow for today. I'm hoping everyone can see that. Perfect. This is slow. In the beginning. Okay, we already did that and that. So our agenda tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about our current registration status and our waitlist status, as well as go over room requests and getting those placed, and our day 2 itinerary and day 3 itinerary. We went over our day 1 itinerary at the last meeting. Again, that was recorded. That's on YouTube. And then we touch on all of the days at our very last meeting of the year. So try and keep up, but the first thing we're going to go with is registration and waitlist. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Sue and Lisa and Pat will help try to answer as we go, and then any that we can't answer as we go, I'll address at the very end. So first off, currently registration is closed, and we closed it when we had enough registration for one full bus. We hit that point right when registration would have closed anyway. So right now we have exactly one bus, which is a little bit smaller than what we've had historically for our trip. A one bus trip hasn't been done in a long time, but that's totally okay. We'll still go with you guys. And we're excited to go. And honestly, if you guys get to go on a trip that's just one bus, you're going to have some perks that come with it because it's, half of the hurry up and wait of some of our 2 and 3 bus trips. So while we hope that we have more participants that will be interested, and we certainly hope next year to get the trip back up to 2 or 3 buses, there's a silver lining for sure. And that means that I bet you guys will all have a really, really good year this year because it will be smaller and can be a lot more personable and just not as crowded everywhere we go. Traveling with 50 other people is very different than 150. So we have a wait list currently. And the way our wait list works is if anyone who's currently registered needs to drop from the trip, we will pull people from the wait list to fill those spots. Or if we get at least 30 people to sign up on the wait list, we will open another bus and bring them. It's just not fiscally responsible for us to book another bus unless we have that 30-person minimum. The other commitment we're making is that if there is anybody who's on the wait list this year who is not able to get onto the trip, so we don't have any spots open up or we aren't able to book another bus, they will be eligible to go on the trip next year, and we'll guarantee this year's price for them. So we want everyone to have this experience, and obviously, ideally, everyone would get that experience this year. But if they aren't able to, anyone who's on the wait list, chaperone or student, could go next year as a 9th grader for this year's price. So even if we have to increase prices next year, it won't matter for those people. So if people are talking to you and having conversations about, well, I'm not sure if it's worth it to join the wait list, chances seem slim that I would go, whatever it may be. I really do feel like it's worth it to put their name on the list. Even if they end up deciding they don't want to go next year, it at least shows that interest is there, that they would go if they could, and next year they could have that opportunity again. So just keep that in mind as you're out in the community talking about the trip, getting ready to go. If anyone has any questions, they can always email me. And that also being said, if I have anyone who's currently registered for the trip who at any point feels like they're not going to be able to go, whether it's all of a sudden, your student has a tournament that they're going to play in over April break, you haven't just alternative plans come up, whatever that may be, please let me know sooner rather than later, because there are people who would like to go, and I would like to give them as much lead time as possible to have that opportunity. So the sooner you guys can just kind of be up to date on any of those decisions, share that information with me as well, please. So room requests, at the very end of this meeting, I'm going to put a link in our chat, but we are at the point of year where we are ready to take everyone's room request and start getting everyone organized into hotel rooms and chaperone groups. We don't have to split up people onto buses yet because we only have one bus, so that's kind of off the table. But I'm going to give everyone a Microsoft form. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. It's really simple to fill out. It just gives me the information that I need, whether about information if you know who you want to room with, I can have all of that right at my fingertips. If you don't know, that I can gather a couple pieces of information about you so I can help pair you up as best as I can. When you submit the form, if you don't hear anything back from me, then that means everything is all set. That means you submitted it. I know exactly what I need to know. And if you do hear from me, it just means that I have some questions. So if I see anything that I need to follow up on or ask clarification on, I'll do that. And usually I do that via email. But most of the time we can get this off to the races pretty quickly. And most of you guys I know have a pretty good idea of what your roommate situation is going to be. So let me really quickly close out of this and bring up the form so I can show you. So it is, and again, I'll put this link in the chat and I'll email it to everyone. When you open it, you'll just put in, who's completing the form, what's your email address, and then you'll answer yes or no. Do you know who's going to be in your room? Do you know who you would like to request? If you click yes, you do know, then you're going to go right into filling it out. I have the kind of guidelines for what a room looks like right up here. It's either one chaperone, 3 students, one chaperone, 2 students, 2 chaperones, 2 students, 2 chaperones, 1 student. Those are all of the possible combinations. So in this section, if you know who you would like to room with, you just fill out all of those names. There will be some extra spaces depending on what your exact kind of situation is. At the end, it says, is this request complete? You click yes, and it'll take you to the very end of the form and you're all done. If you, at the very beginning, put in your name, put in your email, it says, do you know your complete room request? And the answer is no. It brings you to a different list of questions. So it just says, are you attending this trip as a chaperone? Yes or no. What's your student's name, first and last? And then I ask if you have any preferences for roommates. And then we'll do our best to accommodate. So those preferences could include if you are a father-daughter going on the trip, if your preference is to be paired with another father-daughter, or maybe your preference would be paired to be paired with someone from your child's school, or maybe you don't have a preference at all, whatever it may be. So that's just where you would put that in. As soon as you're done answering that, it takes you out at the end of the form. When you submit the form, you have the option to download a copy if you want to keep it so you know what you requested. If you don't care, you don't have to. I get all of these. So my deadline that I'm asking for all of you guys to submit those by is February 1st, because I would like time to get all of those requests organized so that I can share the room kind of assignments and how everything looks at our February meeting. I need a little bit of time to pull all of that together. I'm going to move on. Again, if you have questions about this, throw them in the chat, and Sue will either help you answer or Lisa will, and I'll answer anything else at the end. But for right now, we're going to move from room requests to our day 2 itinerary. And I have a couple resources to share with you on this. So day 2, we're waking up just outside of Philadelphia, not very far at all. We're going to get up, we're going to have breakfast, and we're loading the buses with all of the luggage. The hotel that we're in from day 1 to day 2, we're just in that hotel for 1 night. It's the only hotel we do for just 1 night, so it's our only kind of quick turnaround that we have. When we get on the bus with our luggage, we're going into Philadelphia. I will have tickets for everyone to go to Independence Hall in the morning. And then you'll have from whenever that finishes, it doesn't take very long. You could spend a lot of time there, but most people are in and out in 30 minutes or less, I would say. Um, you have free time to explore in Philadelphia. And the resource that I wanted to make sure you guys shared, and again, I'll email you guys all of these links, is this Visit Philadelphia site about history in Philadelphia has a lot of really awesome links and resources as far as top picks, where things are, different maps. Um, the best Philly cheesesteaks, things that have been voted, specific interests. Like this one's the Women's History Trail of Greater Philadelphia, architecture in Philadelphia, the 41 can't miss. So this is just a really great starting point. If you're not really sure exactly what you want to do, this kind of provides some buckets of interest where you can look at those lists and pick out a few things. We'll give you some maps and we'll give you a scavenger hunt. We'll give you a few things to kind of help you along your way. And we have a whole day on the bus the day before this, so you can ask questions about what should I do, where should I go, who has the best cheesesteak, where's the best food, all of that kind of stuff. And your bus leaders will help you in that planning process. But our goal always is whenever we get to our spot, whatever city we're visiting in, and you're getting off the bus, you're getting off the bus with a rough outline of a plan of a few things you know you want to see and what direction you need to start walking in. What is just really tough is if you guys get off the bus and you haven't really thought of anything yet, or you're not really sure, you haven't come to a decision of at least where to start. A lot of times we see folks kind of have decision paralysis and they're just kind of stuck on the sidewalk being like, I'm not really sure. And then we'll step in. We're still more than happy to point you in a direction, say, here, let's go try this. But you'll be a lot more efficient and happy with your time if you have at least a couple places that you know you want to head into once you get off the bus. So we are going to meet at the buses at 2 o'clock and we're going to head into DC. So that's our kind of extended morning in Philadelphia. It takes us a little bit of travel time to get to DC. And once we do, we stop for dinner. And at dinner, we do a voucher meal at Pentagon City Mall. We do voucher meals at a couple different places. I'll show you guys examples of what the options are, but it's essentially kind of like a gift card that we buy for all of you, but it can only be used at the specific restaurants in the food court. So you'll get kind of a pamphlet that has a code at the bottom that the vendors have to scan, and the pamphlet says all of the different restaurants that you can get free food at and what the free food options are. So usually there's 7 or more restaurants and then 3 or 4 options at each restaurant of what you could get for free using the vouchers that we buy you guys. We do this once here and then at one other time in DC. So that's what dinner is in DC. You guys are on your own for lunch back in Philadelphia. And then when we're done with dinner, we go to the 9/11 Memorial at the Pentagon, which is a very special place every year. I'm going to jump down to my next slide just to show you one of my favorite all-time photos. And when we go to the memorial at the Pentagon, we work every year with a very nice man. His name is David Nanny. He's this man in the yellow right here. He helps to coordinate volunteers who give tours and provide information and resources at the 9/11 Memorial. And almost everyone, if not everyone, that volunteers their time to do that was either working for the Pentagon at the time of the 9/11 attacks, had a family member that was working for the Pentagon at the time of the attacks. Some of them were in the building at the time of the attacks, and some of them were all of the above. So they all have incredibly unique stories to share. It's an incredibly moving experience. When we're on the trip, I'll give you the full story of how we met David and kind of the serendipitous way that he came into our lives. And he's just an amazing, amazing person. And we love to see him every year, and we love to kick off our real historical tour with him and all of his friends that he brings and coordinates so we can hear their stories and the kids can hear their stories and get a really amazing education at the same time. So that's what we do in that evening in DC. Afterwards, we typically go to the Iwo Jima Memorial. Sometimes, depending on traffic and timing, we'll do the Iwo Jima Memorial as we go into DC before we go to dinner. We'll do it at some point in that afternoon. That's all a timing thing as we travel from DC or from Philadelphia to DC. So that's kind of up in the air, but we fit it in on the trip for sure. And then that link that is up here is that Philadelphia link that I shared earlier and showed you guys. So our day three, we will wake up, we'll get breakfast. We're not going to have to do luggage. The hotel that we stay at in DC, we stay for 3 nights. So you guys really get a chance to kind of settle in and not rush around. And this year, we were able to get a hotel right in DC. So in previous years, we were kind of farther out in the more kind of Baltimore-ish area. And so it was kind of a 40-minute drive to get in and out every day. And this year we got a great lead on a hotel that is kind of right in the city. It's going to be 10 minutes to get to everywhere that we go in the morning. Other than George Washington's Mount Vernon, because that's outside of the city. But it does make what used to be an hour and 5 minute drive now like a 30-minute drive. So that's really exciting. I'm really, really happy for you guys that we were able to find that and get that in the city hotel, because that gives you guys extra sleep, gives you extra time to explore. Could even give you guys the option of, if you need a break, you could go back to the hotel in the middle of the day with your student or with your chaperone. So it's a great alternative. I'm super happy about that. But the first thing we're going to do in the morning is drive out to George Washington's Mount Vernon estate. We get there and we spend just a couple of hours there. We do a tour through George Washington's mansion, and then you have the whole grounds to explore, and the place is absolutely huge. It's a still active working estate, so there's still animals, there's still gardens, both flower gardens, vegetable gardens, there's orchards. It's right on the Potomac River. There's a couple different museums and different things that you can see while you're there. It's very, very cool. And it's also a really nice break from being traveling for a whole day and then really being in the middle of a city for a whole day on day two. This is a nice, real chance of fresh air, really stretch your legs and get to explore. Just a beautiful, beautiful area. When we leave there, we leave with a boxed lunch that we get from the restaurant there. It's actually quite good. So I will put out meal requests ahead of time before we leave on the trip with all of the different options that you can choose for your different kinds of sandwiches and that kind of stuff here and in Gettysburg, which are the two places that we do a boxed meal. We take that on the bus and we eat as we head back into DC to save a little bit of time. And once we get into DC, we go right to Arlington National Cemetery. Arlington National Cemetery, we spend like right around 2 hours. Arlington National Cemetery, if you've never been, you cannot even begin to understand how absolutely massive it is. It is huge. There's some trolley options to get around, but if you're walking, it does take a little bit of a walk to get to places like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, to see the changing of the guard. We'll help you and provide you with a couple resources and some maps so you can pick out maybe some other grave sites or other memorials that you want to see. But it is an expansive, expansive park. At Arlington, there is nowhere to get food and there is almost nowhere to get water. There's a like bottle filling station in there. So that's why we eat lunch a little bit early on our way in. That way you'll be all set for the whole time we're there, because there's no food options while we're there. And you don't really want to carry around a big backpack or anything like that while you're there, because historically it's been kind of warm. We usually, knock on wood, get some nice weather. But also you're walking a lot, you're moving around a lot. Once we are done there, we go into DC. What I will note is sometimes we have students or families that have really particular interests at Arlington and they need some more time in Arlington, and that's totally fine if you want to stay and then just take a quick, you can take the circulator bus or take a quick Uber into the National Mall area of DC. You can absolutely do that if you feel like you need more time at Arlington. We've found that this timing works the best for the most amount of people. But occasionally we have a couple people stay behind because they want to see some more things or explore some more things at Arlington. That's just something that you would let your bus leader know. You would just say, hey, you know, myself and my group or myself and my student, we're going to stay and do our own Uber into DC later. But everyone else who gets on the bus will drive right into DC. It's literally just us taking you across the bridge and taking you a little bit closer to the National Mall. It'll take no time at all. It's enough time for you to get on the bus, get a water refill, grab a snack, all of that kind of stuff, and get stocked up for an afternoon exploring DC. So this is your first kind of big chunk of free time in DC. You have 2 afternoons where you have big chunks of free time. It's today, day 3, and then it's on day 4, which we'll talk about at the next meeting. And I'll show you some resources again in a minute about the kind of the best way to figure out what is open when in DC, where to go, where things are, and kind of start narrowing down all the things you want to do in DC, because there's a million things you can do in DC. Sue's been there a ton, Lisa's been there a ton, I've been there a ton, and there's always something new to see. There's always something different. There's always a new exhibit. There's always something. It's amazing. So we'll help you and provide you with some resources to kind of make your priority list, and then I'm sure you'll find some other really cool things on the way. You're on your own for dinner in DC on this day, and then when we meet up and get back on the bus, we go and visit some of the monuments at night. So when you think about what you want to do in your free time during the day, you don't need to go see these monuments unless you want to for a really specific reason, because we're going to go see these at night. And this is the first half. When we go over day 4 in the next meeting, you'll see that we have a handful more. But on the first night, we usually do the Lincoln Memorial, Korean, Vietnam, and World War II Memorial. And it makes a nice little loop. It gives us some time to kind of stretch our legs again. We usually take about an hour, hour and a half to do this, and then we all meet up and we get on the bus and we go to the hotel at the end of the night. And because our hotel is so much closer now, we'll really be able to stay at the monuments as it actually starts to have sunset and really get dark, and you'll really be able to see them lit up, which is exciting because some years, because of timing and getting people to bed at a reasonable hour, we've missed some of those cool moments where you get to see like the Vietnam or the Korean Memorial really in the dark and at night when you get to see the lights, and that's really a cool aspect. So the next slide is just a few pictures of this day when we've done it before. So everything on the left of the screen, or at least it's the left for me, the flowers and inside the mansion at George Washington, it's just the coolest place. It's really just a slice of history that we get to see. A couple photos in the middle are from some of the Smithsonian exhibits. Again, a lot of those exhibits are changing all the time. So when I show you the next slide, you'll see some resources to find out specifically what is being shown at each museum when we go. And then this bottom photo on the right, that is Arlington National Cemetery. That's actually the amphitheater right behind where they do the changing of the guard. And then up at the top is one of our monuments. And you can see a whole bunch of those red and blue coats going up to visit it. And it's so easy to see who's with our group and who's not. We got 3 random people in the middle, and then our swarm of a group that showed up to go see the monument. But it really is very cool. So these are some links I'm going to pull up and show you as well. The Smithsonian, oh, if I can get to it. So the best way to figure out when things are open and what you want to see is going straight to the Smithsonian website for DC. On this page, they have a list of everything that you need to have passes or tickets for. Some museums you don't need passes or tickets, some museums you do. So right now, the Air and Space Museum is a free ticket, but it's a timed entry, so you have to get it in advance. Same with the African American History and Culture Museum. You have to have a timed entry. It's not going to cost you anything. If you do it, I mean, maybe there's like a $1 processing fee for doing it online, but you have to get those. Same with the National Zoo, if that's where you want to go. You have to have a timed entry. So that's all super, super important to note as you make plans, because it's just a huge bummer when people, especially now, want to see the Air and Space Museum, and they aren't able to get tickets that close to the event. So I regularly check to see when these are going to open. I haven't seen that they're open yet, but I will email everyone when those passes and tickets become available so you can get yours. Um, Down here, you can see a list of all of the different museums and when they're open. But I will also note that you want to check my next tab, if it'll let me go to it. Yep, I got that. Um, this pocket guide is a really good resource as well. So this shows you the map so you can kind of plan what is next to each other because this area is massive. If you are at the Air and Space Museum and then you want to go over to American history and then you want to go back up to the Smithsonian Castle, you're going to be getting your steps in for sure. So I would definitely recommend trying to plan like maybe one day you do this side and the next day you do the other side, something like that as you're looking through. But also on here, you can pick to specific featured expositions, where to eat, online resources, things that are closing. So things that, maybe this is your one shot at seeing, educational tools. There's just a bunch of stuff. So this is a really great link. I'll make sure you guys get that. And then this is everything in the National Mall area. So this is stuff that's kind of in and around. This is elsewhere in DC. And then they have some of their featured exhibits down here. And this will probably continue to update and change a little bit as we get closer to our trip. But this is everything that they have at the moment. We go back here. So when you're back on this page with the passes and tickets and admissions, you can also go to entry and guidelines. And this is where you can see what places have security screenings, what places allow backpacks and what places don't is a really great resource. What places have lockers where you can put your stuff in so you don't have to carry it around. And all of that kind of stuff. So this is another page that has a lot of information that you definitely need to pay attention to. Definitely make sure that you're looking to see when spaces close on our 2 days in DC. Some of them close earlier than others, so those are the ones to me you would want to go to first, and then go to the ones that stay open a little bit later, later in the afternoon. And then since we don't meet until 7, you have time to get dinner. So in theory, you spend most of your time from 1:45 to like 6 o'clock-ish, and 6 o'clock is about when most of those museums are going to close. And then you grab some food and meet us at the bus because we just really want you to capitalize on that time when all of the museums and stuff are open. So next steps, that's the end of our agenda. We'll do questions in just a second. If you have not registered, I again recommend that you register for the wait list. If you have registered, you are going to get the link from me to be able to place your room requests. A reminder that final payments are due March 1st. You can go in to make smaller payments unless you elected to do an automatic withdrawal. If you elected to do an automatic withdrawal for when payments are due, then I don't think it lets you make smaller payments ahead of time because it already kind of set up that payment information. But you can always call the welcome desk at the AYCC and they can help you make those adjustments. If you've registered, you should also be talking to your chaperone group or to your student or whoever you plan to be touring different things with about what you want to do in your free time and start making that decision. I know a while back I shared the current itinerary. So if you want to plan beyond what we've talked about in the meetings, I put that on the Facebook page and emailed it out. I can email that around again. So if you want to get a little bit ahead and really start diving into what you want to do, the sooner the better for all of that for sure. Chaperones, if you haven't completed your background check, you need to do that. I do have a couple chaperones that I need to reach out to because DHHS sent them back because they thought there was something wrong with the social security number. So a few of you are going to get an email from me tomorrow about that, but not a biggie. We just have to resubmit it. And then if you aren't on the Heritage Tour Facebook group, please join that. That has some good updates all of the time. And then continue to attend meetings. So our next meeting will be February 4th. And our next meeting after that will be March 4th. And then in April, we will have one in-person meeting so you can get your apparel and so we can meet all of you and have kind of any final questions answered. But again, that will be April, probably April 1st is what I'm guessing right now is what we're going to do. And that will be at the Alphond Youth and Community Center for that meeting. Time TBD. I try and push it late enough that people can get there from work, but not so late that we're all getting home at 10 o'clock at night. So let me stop sharing my screen. And I'll check the chat first for any questions. Looks like Lisa and Sue put a whole bunch of good information in the chat, so make sure you look. I got one question that says what schools are represented on the trip this year. It's a pretty widespread, to be honest. I don't have the list in front of me right now, but I know we have a smaller showing from Waterville this year than usual, but I know we have Messalonskee, Maranicook, Coney. I think I have even someone from John Baptist this year. We have a couple Skowhegan. We're pretty spread out. So even though we're a small group this year, we have, it seems like a lot of small kind of pockets from a wide variety of communities. Yep, Palermo's there for sure. Palermo, we always have a good showing. Any other questions about what we went over today? Any questions about the trip in general?
Abby, I apologize. We missed the very first part of the meeting. We were running a little behind. Registering for the rooms. I'm assuming that this meeting will be posted like the rest of them have so that we can go back and rewatch. Is there something specific that we need to know about for rooms? So right now it's just my daughter and I. I don't know. I'm assuming you're going to be emailing us at some point to pair us up with other, like another pair.
Yes. Yep. So all we talked about at the beginning of the meeting is that I have a Microsoft form link that I'm going to send around to all of you. I'll put it in the chat right now. And it's just for people to put in if they know who they want to room with, you share that information with me. If you don't, you share that you don't, and then let me know if you have any preferences about who you could be roomed with. And that's it. So it should be really simple. And then hopefully at our February 4th meeting, I'm able to show you guys all of the room assignments and kind of the whole chart of how things work and have it all put together for you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Of course. Other questions about the trip? Okay, well, this is the point of the night where I say thank you so much for coming. If you have questions and want to stay on, please do. But if you don't have questions and feel like you're all set, the next meeting is February 4th, and I'll post this meeting recording hopefully tomorrow, but definitely by the end of the week.
So if we have questions, do them in the chat. Is that what you were saying? Or are we
You
allowed
can put them in the chat, or or just ask away.
You may have mentioned or touched on it, but just because it's quick. On the free time factor, are you going to provide somewhat of a list or certain suggestions for things to do? I'm not a city person by any means, so I will get a little, overwhelmed by it, so I would like to try to list the things I want to do and have them ready to go when I'm there, and then you can tweak it, make adjustments as you go.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. we can definitely help with that. Those couple of resources that I shared today are good places to start to look and see what you're interested in. But then on the bus, we have these big binders of maps, of lists of different places with the addresses. And then we also started doing last year, and we'll do it again this year. We have like Apple Maps guides that we can just share with you. So then if you're on your phone and looking in your like phone GPS, we have a whole list there by city of different things that are worthwhile to go see. But yeah, you can always ask any of the leaders on the bus before you get off, where should we go? But also, if you ever have any questions or just want some recommendations ahead of time, shoot me an email. But definitely start with those links because those are the best ways to kind of narrow down what you and your students are interested in. Because what you guys are interested in may be very different than what I like to go do on the trip.
Correct.
Yeah, I was going to say Google, like highlights in Philadelphia, things to see in DC, and then with your student, look at that and see, because always kids are interested, lots of kids are interested, like in Air and Space Museum. And that's recently been renovated and refurbished. And so that is a ticketed entry. And so, but I've seen it a million times, so I'm not headed that way. But you guys might want to be. We can help direct you. Whoever's leading the bus, it can help direct you in where you want to go once we get to places. But the free time and what you do is going to be very uniquely different than the other kids. So I would start Googling and looking around at, popular tourist things to do in these cities. And then
Okay.
Abby, Lisa, and I can help anytime in any meeting, give you some suggestions of what's close by, what's near, what's around. Lisa
We'll take
knows.
care of
Yeah,
We've
Lisa
done
and I
this
can
many
help you
times.
with those good food choices, ice cream places, pizza joints, cheesesteak, good donuts.
Yeah, we're maybe most well versed in the food aspect, to be honest.
Well, after 10 years or so, we create our own trip.
How many times can I go up the
Yeah.
Washington Monument? It doesn't change.
Yeah, good food and clean bathrooms. We're on.
Yes, oh, very important, and we got them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll email us that the ticket on roommate, because I already know who I will be or should be roommating with, another chaperone and another student.
Perfect. Yep, I'll email that out probably first thing tomorrow morning. I'll send that with the slideshow that has all those links in it and the meeting recording all at once.
Okay. And one generic question. Are you located at the Harold Alphon Bibby Center in Waterville?
Yeah.
Now, is it possible to come in and just pay you cash in full?
That you go right to the welcome desk. So our welcome desk handles all payments. So you go in, you walk in the building, there's 3 different stations, walk up to anyone that has a person, and they can take cash or check or card right there to pay for your trip.
Now, is it fairly common for people to get business
Like sponsorships?
sponsorships? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's fairly common. Some businesses choose to like sponsor the school, so then if they give $500, they ask that it gets split evenly between all of the students that are going from that school. Or some families will get a sponsorship, especially if it's a company that one of the parents works for. I've seen that pretty frequently before. Or a company that, a kiddo volunteers at or just has the gumption to go and ask for a sponsorship for their trip. I would say it's fairly common to see that, yeah.
So most businesses that do sponsor something obviously want the tax write-off. Is there a tax affiliated number, or do you guys provide a paper that will give them that information? Or
So what we ask is the business reach out to us and then we'll give it directly to them. So we don't give it to participants to then go and hand out to different businesses, but we'll give it to them once they say that they've provided a donation.
okay, if I was to do that, would I refer them to you, Abby? Abby,
Yep, they can just shoot me an email and I'll send them the tax certificate.
outstanding. That'll work.
Awesome.
I'll get working on that. All right. Well,
Perfect.
thank you.
Good luck. Of course. Have a great night. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, how do I get rid of Sophie's name?
I know. I'll help you with that in just a minute. I'm gonna say goodnight to all of our participants, and then I can help you soon. Let
This is
me.
driving me nuts.
I know.
Staying on to see if someone has a good question.
Okay. I think you're our last one, Phil. Or Pete, sorry.
Pete.
Phil left.
That's okay.
You can
I've been
always
called.
do, like, at the last minute, like, have a list of questions that we in person during the April meeting can kind of go through.
Okay.
So, you know, if things come up while you're doing research, just jot them down, and, you know, one of the meetings or the in-person, we can get stuff answered for you, and
My big
you'll be
one
comfortable,
to
ready
do-
to go.
The other thing is if
Yeah,
you're
my
on the Facebook page, to drop a question on the Facebook page, there's past participants, new participants, people who, adults who went as students. You know, there's all kinds of things on there. Somebody will answer your questions.
True.
Wonderful. Great. Appreciate your help. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good night.
Good night.
Stop recording.
Oh, right. I always forget that.